Is it me or is the Real Housewives of Atlanta in trouble? So, do the producers think the crossover would help Rhoa get back on track? Remember when Rhoa could bring it on its own? In the last episode, not only did we see or continue to hear about the Sheree and Martell relationship, which brings him from another show, another network, and gives her, a rebound from Tyrone. And then we had Kandi from the Real Housewives of Potomac on the show performing in a collaboration or a duet or a snippet with Drew. So did they think this was the formula to bring it back to its former glory? Well, if you're asking me, the chatty chairwoman, I would say no. Because it all feels too scripted. What do you think? I think it's too scripted. Love to know in the comments, what do you think? Is it too scripted? Has it lost its authenticity? Now, clearly to me, it seems that Marlo is on assignment. And she has been told, this is my opinion, allegedly, that she has to go after the OG. Well, I guess if she hasn't been told, I guess the methodology is if you want to improve your rank, you got to go after the one who's been around the longest or the one with the most clout on the show. And since Kandi's been around for the longest, even though I think that Kandi really doesn't highlight what makes her relevant, and that's her business side, even though she's been around the longest, she is not, to me, the most interesting. Seems like a nice person, but what we love about Kandi, she never really highlights, right? So I believe rather than shying away about talking about what happened at her restaurants and saying it's a legal issue, I think that Kandi and Todd should have taken those moments and allowed the viewers to see how they handled them. That would have been more interesting. Remember when the guy came at Kandi about not paying him properly and he went to see Phaedra? That was good TV. But for them to sit there and say when they were meeting with their cousin at the restaurant that it was a legal matter, I think it was a missed opportunity. Certainly there are ways to present it so you protect yourself as the business owner, but they missed the opportunity to really showcase why Kandi is a boss. So all of this other chatter between her and the newbie is not very interesting, and it seems very petty and as if they're taking us, the viewers, for granted. Am I right? Because come on now, most of the Rhoa viewers have been around from the beginning, or I would say have been watching at least for the last 5 years. So we understand, we watch them evolve. So when we see something that seems very scripted, very petty to create a storyline, it is a turn off. So I think the producers and Rhoa know this show is in trouble, and either they're going to have to scrap it, because after they've tried all of this crossover, which really is not bringing what they thought it would bring, because first, Martell is not really what we all view as top of the line, right? Sure, he might be a step up from Tyrone, but he's not top of the line. And number two, the performance with Candace, who I think can sing, was not top of the line. I'm not sure what Drew had on, whether they decided at the last minute to pull her in. It just wasn't bringing it for us. I'm gonna say us because I'm sure you do agree. Now, I met Marlo at the BravoCon 2022. She was wonderful. Met Candice at Bravo 2022, BravoCon 2022. Wonderful. Love all the cast, but they got to give us more and stop downplaying their audience. Drip, drip, drip. Every week the ratings drop. What's going on at the Real Housewives of Atlanta? So go back to my original thought. Believing Marlo is on assignment. First I'm going to go to one particular scene. We had Drew set it up. She talked about to Kandi what happened at her restaurant. There was an incident rather than calling it what it was. And then Marlo talks about what actually happened, and that her nephew died years later, and Kandi didn't acknowledge it. She didn't recognize it or validate Marlo in that moment. And they showed some text messages where Kandi didn't respond in a manner that Marlo felt was appropriate. And I'm phrasing it that way because we don't know if those are the real text messages. We are only seeing what they're showing on television. But I say all that to say, even if that is so, the way that Marlo's approach is not making her likable. Her likability is going down. So is Marlo on assignment? Has she been told, you know what, if you want to stick around, you got to go after the OG? I think so. And I also believe Drew was given that assignment as well. They got to set up this scene. We really didn't get the chance. The Tuckers didn't drill down the way that we wanted. This is the real juice of the whole season, and they refused to talk about it. Now, we have to agree, for the time that Kandi has been on this show, the whole storyline has been her relationship with Todd's relationship with Mama Joyce, and we are tired of that. I still say, as I said from the beginning, they missed the opportunity to really share their story by talking about not only what happened at the restaurant with her nephew, her cousin, but also talking about the season before when their restaurant was closed because it didn't meet all of the correct requirements. Those are chances to show the restaurant in boss moves. We all know in reality, everything is not positive, and people will find you more relatable if you just share your story. So I think Rhoa is losing its magic because all they're doing is talking about petty scenes, incidents. For example, in one scene, Sanya brought up that Drew was flinging her hair at her. Put your thoughts in the comments. Do you think that Rhoa is going to make another season? Do you think Marlo's on assignment? Do you think that Drew is also on assignment and that most of the storyline right now is staged? And here's my other point. This show is going to continue to struggle if all of the women there, or most of them except for Sheree and Marlo, if all of them feel like they're obligated to protect Kandi. Monieta's not going to go after Kandi. Drew is not going to go after Kandi. And we know that Kenya is very loyal to Kandi. So if they're saying Kandi has the most hot news, hot issues, none of those girls are going to go after Kandi's name. And you know what does Kandi care most about more than her money? Her brand. Rightfully so. So is this a good mix? Maybe they shouldn't bring in people who are tied to Kandi, who Kandi brings to the show, because if you brought Monieta to the show, will she really turn on you and call you on your stuff? Probably not. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you for stepping by. I'm glad I'm back on the scene in these YouTube streets. This is the Chatty Chairwoman. Bye-bye.